Then we enter the UV stage. So the modeling process is, let's say it's over. I just forgot the eyebrows. So what we do is we try to control the the stuff that's important, or the details. So I'll control the noise, the ears, try to put the line on top of the face. It should be under the ears, so it's not visible, because the seams might show some some marks, or some stuff. The seam edge is never safe. Let's say it's you'll have maybe marks, or stuff like that if you have the wrong bleed. The bleed is when you paint, you have to have a bleed. So when you paint, the paint will go on the side of the UV, so you won't have the seam visible on your model when you import it in real time. Because once you import it on, let's say, Unity of Unreal, or maybe Sketchfab, or anything that will permit you to see the model in VR or anything like that, you'll have a problem that's pretty common. You'll have a line, a black line, usually, because even if your model is totally perfect in Blender, once you export it, it won't be perfect because you have those lines at the seam location, and that's only because you don't have enough bleed. And if you're in 2K, you need so 16. It's 16, I think. 16 pixel of bleed, and from there on, you should inform yourself about that. I don't really recall the value. I always forget them. Once you have the value, then you'll be fine. You can fix the bleed with within your application, selecting maybe a bilinear filter, but that won't do. You should have a clean model from the start. So once you cut off the UVs, you go to UV maps on the bottom right, and from there you put another UV. You need two maps. You need a projection map for the UV of the projected model, and you need a final UV map where you will project the paint later. So how does it work? You put the model, you line it up, you line up the view, you select the model, the whole model, and you select the background we added first in the start. In the start we added the background and a reference layer. Yep. And we line it up. We line everything. So you need to select the background, the model, editing, you hit edit, and you unwrapped it from view, project from view. Once you project from view, the UV will look like your model. Once you projected it, it will so once we project from view, you go to the UV, you can see that it's looking like the one on the right without the mirror modifier. So we projected it. Now we match the material, and we'll have the same thing from behind, but we didn't apply the subdivision modifier yet. Try to apply it at the very last time, if it's a still model. If it's not a still model, if it's not an exposition model, don't apply the subdivision modifier because it will be very useful to have it. If you apply it, then the geometry of the model will be very hard to match and fix because there will be way too many vertices. So try to keep always at all time, try to keep the vertex count low. When you have it, when you need to have it higher, you have to remember you won't be able to go back. You can't go back from that, right? Even if you apply the subdivision modifier, if you try to apply a decimate or something like that, unsubdivide, the topology will be totally different. I've done tests with that and it's different. Won't be the same. If you apply a subdivision modifier at the model and subdivide it with a modifier, you won't be able to have the topology you had before. You can try it. So we projected the model. We have, I think the material is transparent and have back face culling or something like that. We have to fix that. We'll fix it later. It's not very hard to fix. Once you fix that, you'll have the projected things. You see, this is transparent, so you have to remove the transparency. Once it's removed, you'll have a matching head, right? You have some stuff are not perfect and lined up, but it's fine. We can paint it later. I'm trying to go as slow as possible, and I'm being as messy as possible too, because I want you to know that you don't have to be perfect. You just have to follow a direction and keep it, and try to not break mentally. I mean, try to not cry or anything like that. See, there I put a modifier in some who has a too high level of subdivision, and you see how much vertex it does to the model. This one too. That's a lot of vertex, and if you have to manually replace the vertex, you won't be able to get it smooth without a plugin or without some tools. But at hands with point by vertex, you won't be able to make it smooth. So when I apply the modifier and project it again, look, everything is fine. Now from the side, it's not very fine. We have to fix it later a bit, but it's fine. You just have to paint, and you'll be fine. It's the last part, so you paint, and you done it. The painting process is not that hard because the model is kind of flat. There is not that much color. You shouldn't be doing what I'm doing now because I was trying something to simplify something, but I'm making it harder because I'm dumb. I'm not that intelligent. So what I was doing is I was trying to make it so the eyebrow are in the model, but the problem is I'm increasing the vertex and I'm cutting off the the scalability. I meaning I won't be able to go back to that and modify it like I want because it will be on the model with complex geometry. You see what I'm saying when I say keep it simple, try to avoid all kind of things like that. You have to avoid it because once you go too complicated, you can't come back from that. So keep it simple as possible. There is solution that permits you to keep it simple and scalable. I mean, you will be able to go back to that, and it will be non-destructive because if you do complex things, then you have to say on complex things. You can't come back and everything you'll do to the model from there on will be complex. You see what I mean? You have to keep it simple and as low as possible so you can go back and forth, and you scale it step by step. You put it, you get it complicated step by step, so you have the lowest amount of work to do because you can do complicated things from the start, but you'll do much harder work and longer work. And that stuff is already hard. So if you make it harder, it's on you. But don't stress over things like that because if it's complicated, you can always try to watch some tutorials or seek some help, and you will be able to fix stuff. It's not that hard. Just keep it simple. I mean, keep it quiet, keep it simple. Don't put shapes that like triangles of n-guns. Sometime n-guns and triangle will be very useful to you, but try to avoid it if you animate something or if you have lights on the stuff you're doing, because lights will show you bad shadows and some weird stuff you'll learn later if you have bad topology. And n-guns and triangles are kind of bad topology, but it depends on what model you're doing. Because some games like League of Legends are full of triangles, and when you put a model in a rendering engine, it comes back to triangles too. And sometimes it might be useful too to tell the model, I mean, tell the engine that those things are not quads but triangles. So sometime you may be needing to triangulate a model. So all that stuff is kind of bigger than what you think. So try to keep it simple, like I say, like I always say. And if you need a specific thing, go watch that specific thing, because there is some rule you have to learn that will make it easier to scale it if you want, let's say, an animation model, or if you want a game model, or maybe a VR shot model. All that will be able to you will be able to scale it if you know what you're doing, and this comes with experience. And you need to watch a lot of stuff, to watch your tutorials. You need to do your own errors. Don't put it too hard on yourself. This stuff is difficult. It's not simple. This stuff is difficult. So you have to do it part by part and as simple, because difficult stuff and complicated stuff are just a success. I mean, excuse me, but the stuff is just a lot of simple things. Complicated things are just a lot of simple things. It's not hard, it's just longer. So hard things are just long things. Just that. So now we're fixing some UVs and I'm putting the outlines. So this technique is the inverted hull. What we do is we put on a new a solidify modifier. Okay, we we look into the modifier. We click um, inverted normals, and we click quality. So once you click that, you go at the bottom and you change the material index. You change it to 1, or it depends where your material is in the row. Once you go to the material into the row, you'll see your first material, and the second should be outline. If you don't have anything else to add, you put outline modifier. The outline material. Outline material is quite simple. You put an emission shader and you put it as pitch black. Once it's pitch black, you will just increase the thickness and you will see the line appear. Try to apply the shape of the model, because if you don't apply the shape, the the solidify modifier will give you kind of wrong reading. If you increase the thickness, sometimes you will have to increase it a lot because you didn't apply the scale of your model. So apply scale, I think it's on object mode, and then you'll find it from there. It's on the menu. Once you apply it, then you'll have a better and accurate reading of the lines, and you won't have a funny interaction. Because if you don't apply it, you'll have funny interaction in Unity, in Sketchfab, or everything like that. You'll have a lot of problems linked to that. It's kind of hard to troubleshooting it. It's very, very hard. If you don't know about what I'm talking right now, you can send me a message and everything like that. I will answer it. I have no problem with that. If you need help, you can come to me. I won't have any problem answering your question, and I hope I will be useful to you. So, as you can see, it's kind of wobbly, the lines, because it gives a better feeling of hand drawn. You can do it very precise and pristine. It can work too. Depends on what you're going for. So here's a problem you could be facing. I was a bit sleepy, so I was having trouble to detect the problem. And the problem was I had the mirror modifier applied. So once you apply the mirror modifier, the UV will be the same on the right and the left. Okay. Once it's the same, that means if you paint on the right, then on the left it will appear, right? We square with that. We know that. The problem is the model was a bit offset, and when I painted on the middle, it will have this funny interaction because the model is not perfectly symmetrical. It is a bit different. You can see it on the right. The eyes is a bit on the right, and the eyeballs too. So the model is not perfectly symmetrical. When I projected it, it wasn't perfectly symmetrical. So that's the issue that's causing it because the UV are bad. I did some quite some bad UV. So the UV are very bad because it was a very quick thing. I didn't want to put too much effort in it, but the UV is quite important too, and it's part of the topology too. It's linked. You have to have good UV to have a good paint. If you have bad UV, you will have a bad paint, right? So I'm showing it. I have very bad paint. You see how ugly is it? So if you have bad UV, you will have bad paints. So once I fix that, see, if you paint on only one side, it's fine. When you go toward the middle, it's not because it's not symmetrical. You see? That's something that can happen to you if you use the mirror modifier. Since I quite almost never use it because I'm doing stuff that are asymmetrical. There is no symmetry between it, so I don't use the mirror modifier that much. And once I lay the UVs, it's usually unique UVs. It's not symmetrical either. See, we can see it here. It's very unmatched sides. It's not symmetrical, so it's unmatched. And that's the issue that causing the weight stuff.